everyone, Christina from Sheridan Art and Designs here. Today I'm thinking about all those mistakes that you make on a project, those little mistakes that can add up, and you start hyper-focusing on them, and you start thinking, oh, this is gonna turn out like crap, it looks like crap now, I can't even deal with it anymore, and it makes you want to give up and walk away and never finish that garment. Or by the time you do finish it, you hate it now because you're just so focused on all those little things that you could have done differently or should have done differently, and really you're not looking at the big picture of your cosplay anymore. You're just looking at those little mistakes that people tend to make. And when I find myself spiraling down into that rabbit hole of like everything I make is crap because I'm hyper focusing on those little mistakes, I have to remind myself of my rule. Now my rule is called the 3-foot rule. So if you find yourself hyper focusing on those mistakes and it's all you can see in your garment anymore, or if you're debating whether it's worth deconstructing a piece of your garment or having to rip out a seam to fix a small mistake, when that, fixing it would take a lot longer than just like leaving it and it's fine, I take 3 steps away from my cosplay. I put it up on the dress form and I step back and I look at it and I say, can you still see it? Can you see it from this far away? And if the answer is no, you can't see it, then I leave it alone. Because you have to think about what the average person is going to be seeing in your cosplay. Are they going to be seeing it this close to their face? No, they're not going to be seeing it that close. They're going to be seeing it from feet away. It's going to be on somebody or on a mannequin or something like that. So you have to think about it as someone who isn't hyper focused on it, right? Are you going to see it from far away? And if the answer is no, then I say you get to leave it alone. Because chances are that person or whoever is seeing it is not gonna see your mistake. You're the only one who's gonna know it's there. And as I say, if someone is up in my business examining my garment that close, we're gonna have other problems than them finding my mistakes. So I always say 3 feet away, take a look, reassess from there. Now, any good rule has exceptions, and this one has 2 of them, right? So my first major exception is, did my mistake cause some sort of structural instability in the garment? And what I mean by that is, does my mistake make it so that later this garment might have a higher chance of falling apart, or seams popping, or something that is going to cause a bigger fix than what it is to fix it right now? And if the answer to that is yes, it means no matter if you can see it or not, you have to go fix it. Now the other exception to this is really just my rule, my personal rule of, if it's for a competition, I always fix my mistakes. Because when you're entering a competition, those judges are gonna go over your garment with a fine-tooth comb. They're really gonna look at it. And so I always say, I'd rather fix my mistakes when entering a competition, and that way I can be wholly confident in what I submit, versus I'm just gonna wear it to a con or for a photo shoot, or it's just for me. So remember that all these projects are really ultimately for you, right? So you have to be happy with them. And if you can live with that tiny skip stitch, or that button being slightly off, or that seam not perfectly lining up, then that's okay, because nobody's gonna see it. I tell myself this, I tell my mom this, whenever we're hyper focusing on stuff, nobody's gonna see it. It's okay, it's really okay. Nobody knows it's there. And that's the key. If you still cannot step away and decide whether you want to fix that thing or not, because you're still just like, I can see it from here. I do it all the time. I'm like, no, I can fully see it. But if you still just can't decide, get a third-party opinion. Get somebody who doesn't know what the mistake is. I ask my husband all the time, hey, what do you think of this? And I don't tell him that there's a mistake in it. And every once in a while he'll go, oh, you mean that mistake that you made? And I'm like, oh no, that means I now have to go back and fix it. Because if he doesn't know it's there and he can spot it from across the room, it's obvious, right? So I always get a third party opinion, because that does help if you just cannot decide if it's worth fixing or not. If they can't see it, chances are nobody else is gonna see it, so you can leave it alone. But that's my rule. And if you are struggling with this and you don't have a rule for yourself about, you know, when do I fix something and when do I leave it alone, and you just agonize over it every time, borrow my rule. It's the 3-foot rule. Nobody's gonna see it. Don't agonize over every single mistake. If you guys have rules of your own that you use, I'd love to know about them. Drop them in the comments for me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.